All right. So we are on chapter 3 of our book. Here it is, Tarot for Yourself. Um, let's turn that off. Uh, okay. Sorry about that. All right. Um, so this chapter is called Reading the Cards. Let's let Karen
Oh, that Karen.
in. Oh, that Karen. Wait for her to get on. Welcome, Karen, wherever you are. All right.
That
Um,
reminds me, I can't find her on Facebook. She told me to find her and I couldn't find her. So we have to
oh,
talk
isn't
about
that,
that.
is she on Facebook? Is she? Karen, can you hear us? Are you on Facebook? I don't think ever see her on Facebook. She's on Instagram, I think.
I'll I'll try to look for her on there. I'm not very good with Instagram, so I don't
Oh,
usually find people.
that's a good question. All
So
right.
I will track her down though,
There
don't
you
you
go.
worry.
Track her down. Yes. And while I'm thinking of it, actually, while I'm thinking of it, I got letters from some of you for the tarot trade. Thank you. Very exciting. I have a big basket of letters, so I'm keeping it open till the 28th if you want to participate. It's gotten some really great readings, so it's really cool. Um, so that's for the tarot trade where you write your reading
I'm
and send it
working
in.
on mine right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, don't overthink it. People are like, "Oh my God, do I need to like draw a picture and put in a card and do all this stuff?" Like, no, no, just write a little note.
You know me,
So,
there's a lot of thinking that has to go
yeah,
into the thinking that goes into the thinking.
totally fine. Yep. All right. So, tonight what we are going to do is we're going to read this chapter. It gets back to the basics, but I think this is good. We need to revisit the basics sometimes. So bear with me. Okay, so she says, let's see. We all seek quick solutions to our problems. We look for someone or something that will resolve our conflicts, give us security, fulfill our hopes, allay our anxieties. Out of this human desire have sprung or I can't say that word, oracular methods common to all cultures, a means of predicting the future, a way to divine what the gods and goddesses have in store for us. This knowledge represents a way to escape the anxiety of risk. And I thought that was really good because that's what, when people want their cards read, a lot of times they just want to calm their anxiety. They just want to know they want to know. And we may not be able to give them specific answers, but just the reading alone can like kind of allay their anxiety, let them feel seen and heard. Give let them know, oh yeah, you're not crazy. Yeah, this is like a big thing that's going on in your life, and the cards maybe confirm it. The cards give some support around it. So that's that. So. The tarot encourages you to look at life symbolically, to look deeply into its simultaneously, I cannot read tonight, to look deeply into its simultaneous levels of meaning. It urges you to go beyond the chaos that appears on the surface and seek for deeper universal truths that lie buried in the unconscious mind in order to understand, thus, the true meaning of cause and effect. Only when you take responsibility for what you have drawn into your life can you find the power to bring order out of chaos. So again, it's like bringing, yeah, the sense of order to things, being able to kind of like parse out a situation because when you're in the thick of it, it's like overwhelming sometimes. Um, so that is helpful. Now she gives this really good example. She uses the devil card, which I think is really interesting. For example, the devil card represents symbolically our bondage to ignorance. In a reading, it may denote a power struggle in your job or personal relationships, but also suggests you recognize that the struggle itself now controls you. Your obsession with the problem may be the real devil, especially if it limits your freedom of choice. A bleak interpretation, perhaps, but this card also suggests an option, another mode of perceiving the situation. The devil advises mirth, that is, learning to laugh at yourself, seeing the humor and absurdity in a fixed and stubborn view of reality. It is harder to get pompously embroiled in a battle for power and control when you see the absurdity of a whole structure. The devil card thus urges you to see the existing situation as an inversion of reality. Rather than giving into guilt and anxiety, the devil reminds you that this can be an opportunity to create new order out of chaos. Will you choose to see and act on your opportunity? Your rewards are commensurate with the level of chaos into which you have plunged and the energy you exert in creating a new understanding. It is the way to the top via the bottom. It may mean the reversal of all your values. And for the obsessed struggler bound by the lust for control and power, it points the way to freedom from a self-created bondage. The devil offers opportunity. So I just love that interpretation of that card because that can be a challenging card sometimes. So I thought that was cool. Hello, Karen. Welcome. It's good to see you. It's only by carefully arranging and rearranging the cards and studying their subtle interrelationships that you can begin to understand how the various aspects of your life interrelate. You can then see how the different events in your life are interconnected, how your actions in one aspect of your life are manifestations of concerns in another. For instance, a backache can stem from resentment at the heavy responsibilities you've undertaken. That makes me think of the Ten of Wands. You know, you can read that card, it's a burden. It can also be like a backache. Like, what are you taking? Literal and symbolic. What are you taking on? In order to do a reading either for yourself or another person, there are several steps that are necessary before you actually lay out the cards. These include deciding on the purpose of the reading. Are you, for example, asking a specific question or doing a daily journal spread? Deciding on the most appropriate spread for your reading. I love this, having pen and paper or a cassette recorder handy to record the reading. Book's a little old.
Most
Dating the,
people won't even know what that
I
is.
know, exactly, right? Dating the reading, purifying the cards, which she gives a technique for later on, centering and grounding yourself, shuffling, cutting, and then laying out the cards. So like that's that prep work, that's important before you do a reading. And does anybody have anything in particular that you do before a reading? Mhm.
It's really about, for me, it's just the shuffling to make sure that you
Mm,
know, they're not exactly going to be the same every
yeah.
time I pull them out. And it's amazing because you think you only have one that's going the wrong way or whatever, and next thing you know, you find out that half the deck is going the opposite direction. And you're like, oh, look at that. Don't know how
Hmm.
that happened. So eventually you have to get back to.
Exactly. Yep. There was, on some tarot page the other day, somebody was asking about that, like, how do you get how do you get an appropriate number of cards in reverse? And it's like, it just happens, like you can't make it happen. It just does. So, and we're going to be talking about reversals tonight too. Okay. So how to ask questions. First, it is not always necessary to ask specific questions in a tarot reading. So this came up the other night, and I do the tarot gathering once a month at New Insights, and this came up. Do you have to have a question? I was like, no, you don't. And I would say probably 80% of people that come to me are like, I don't have a question. They really do, but they but they think they don't. Yeah. So maybe you've seen this too. You'll get like 20 minutes into a half hour reading and then all of a sudden, oh, but I do have a one question, and it's like, what is my life purpose and da, 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 da. So but you don't need a question. Uh, She writes, I usually ask for general guidance using a question such as, what do I need to examine or look at in my life right now? Trusting my higher self to focus the reading on the most appropriate issue. In the reading, emphasis on a particular suit often points out the area of life being dealt with. In general, wands represent creativity and enterprise. Cups are emotions and the psychic realm. Swords are intellect or struggle. And pentacles are work, money, and security. Now, I like that swords are intellect and struggle. That word struggle, I don't usually use that. But I like that word. Um, Court cards focus on people, including the different roles you play in your own life, while the major arcana speak of your processes, methods, and lessons. So this is like one way. If you're like, I don't have a particular question, you could pull one card and go by the suit. You can, okay, so pentacles come up. We're going to talk about work or money, or, the swords come up. We're going to talk about the struggle. In an open reading, you look first for the issue being presented and then for the advice concerning that issue. Sometimes there is no advice, but simply a specific and clear description of the situation. If this is the case, the message is often about the relationship among factors. Um, okay. You may wish to state that your intention is to be guided by advice from your highest self, the universe, source, the great goddess, or a particular angel or guide. Asking for an entity to protect and guide the reading is called an invocation. You may want to add to your request that the advice be for the greatest good of my spirit and the planet or all others concerned. So that's kind of like when you do a daily card, it's like, what do I need to know about today? What's for my highest and greatest good? And then you can call in, this higher power if you want. However, most of the time you'll have a more specific purpose in petitioning the archetypal energies of tarot. Besides asking for general guidance and direction, some things you may want to ask are questions about the most appropriate action you can take. Questions of choice, that is, which option among several is best, or what would be the consequences of various choices. Questions asking why. These are best expressed in the form, what is the lesson I need to learn? Or what is the situation trying to teach me? Questions that can be answered yes or no. It is worth spending as much time as necessary to clarify your question, looking at its different aspects and deciding what you really need to know to resolve it. The form the question takes will ultimately determine the kind of spread you use, including whether to create a spread to get exactly the information needed. So yeah, questions are really important. Some readers, I'm trying to think who I follow, that there's some that really know how to nail down a good question. Um, I struggle with that. I feel like my questions are always too vague, and it takes a while to like get down to the nitty-gritty. But yeah, there's lists too. If you look online, like questions I can ask my tarot cards, and so that's always helpful to have handy. Okay, interpreting the suits. If this is your first experience in interpreting your own cards, you may feel the need to look up the meanings in this or other books. Although this is one way to familiarize yourself with the cards, you may also notice that interpretations vary from one author to another. Keep in mind that there's no definitive set of meanings. The way you read a card in a particular position and a particular layout may alter from one reading to another. If at the start you develop your own personal interaction with your cards, you'll soon discover that they are trying to communicate with you in a way as unique as your dream symbols. So this came up the other night too, about this idea of knowing what the cards mean, the foundational meanings versus your interpretations. You need both, you know? I mean, if you go on TikTok and these readers that have no idea what they're really talking about, it makes me crazy. Like, there's, if you're going to do that, then read Oracle cards. Don't read tarot. Tarot is set, it's a system. Um, so, yeah, I think you need both. And I think that, and there are some readers that are very book oriented that do not allow their intuition to come in. Usually it's men. I'm not making a judgment. I'm just saying. Uh, but they can be very structured, and that's fine. Um, okay, so let's see. Um, you can, of course, memorize each card in its upright and reverse state, or you can learn a system for understanding not only the meanings of the card, but its relationship to the card before and after it, and to the same numbered card in other suits. Um, that's a good exercise to do too. Pull out each number from each suit and look at how they interact. So how do all the twos interact? How do all the threes interact? Let's see. Although what is given below is neither the only way to conceptualize the suits nor the only possible association of element to suit, this is the system I have used with confidence for 35 years. It is also the system that Crowley, Waite, Case, and their followers had in mind when they designed their decks. So she's just going to go through each suit, basic, this is how it started, which I love. I love the tradition of it, the history of it. So wands, or otherwise known as rods, staffs, batons, scepters, or clubs. Here we go. Wands are associated with fire. I got into it with somebody in my group this week. Data, you missed it. We had a new guy and he thought he knew everything. So
Dang,
I know
I would have been on your side.
Sam was like having no part of it. He
I
was like,
love it.
I know. But he was like, well, I know the cards and I know that wands are air. And I was like, hold up now. Hold up. Um, there are some schools of thought that think wands are air and swords are fire. Um, Fine. That does not make sense to me in my head, but some people read that way, which I don't know. It freaks me out. Does anybody here read that way? Oh my God, Raina. Okay, talk to us. Talk to us.
Okay, and so I will say that this is how I read for me,
Hmm.
and I am not here to change anyone else's opinion.
Yeah.
No, like, and even when I go to a reader, if that's how they read, I'm like, okay, that is how you are getting the message, and I'm gonna go with
Yep.
it.
Right.
And maybe I'll pick up something else, like from
Hmm.
looking at it, like, okay, there's this other thing. Um, so I will tell you how it has worked for me, and I will also say, um, I have tried to reverse it. I have tried to read swords as air and
Hmm.
wands as fire, and it is physically painful to me. Like it is just something that ingrained in my soul that is like, this is not how it works.
Yep.
Um, I will tell you why I associate them that way.
Yep.
So, and then I'll add another layer. Um, for me, swords are decision, action, movement. They are forged in fire.
Hmm.
Um, they can be conflict. Struggle is another way of, and you often draw your sword when you're feeling fiery.
Mm.
Um, Wands, think about you're casting a spell. It's communication, it's air, it's spoken.
Mm.
It's you're and even a wand is probably made of wood, which is, something
Mm.
that creates air, that
That's
sends oxygen
interesting.
out into the world.
Hmm.
So for me, that is just in my soul how it is. But I also recognize that is just me.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, I also, though, read, when I read the elements as like paired qualities. So for me, swords and wands do go together. Think about thoughts and actions. Pen is mightier than the sword,
Mhm.
words and deeds. So they're kind of like yin and yangs of one
Mm.
another
Hmm.
for me.
That's interesting.
I don't
And
know
then we'd have cups and pentacles, which would be
which
yeah,
are
yeah.
your, yeah.
Hmm.
And you think about how emotional we are about our resources.
That's true. Yep. Okay.
So,
All right. I'm so glad that you are here to discuss this.
but I would also never come at you like,
No.
I know everything.
Right. No, I know. Yep. And absolutely, like how you read is how you read. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for sure. Um, you I now I can see these aspects. That's very interesting because in my mind, I always think wands are you would light wood on fire. But
And that
now
makes sense. Yeah.
but this is interesting. I made a note to myself. I'm going to try reading differently this week and see how it feels, which is very
And it,
scary. But I want to try it. So I think we should all attempt that this week. Reverse it and see. Interesting. Oh,
Yeah, that was cool.
do you know what school of thought that comes from? Because it's definitely there are definitely readers that read that way. So,
there are. And I think so for me, when I started reading, mumble years ago, where we don't have to do the math on it. The first deck that I had back when like you were lucky to get a deck, and it was
mm,
not Rider-Waite-Smith. The deck that I had was written that way, but
mm,
also it didn't it's kind of a weird deck. Like it didn't really like now when I look back and I'm like, oh, I can kind of see the Rider-Waite-Smith. I had to work hard with that deck. And so I
mm,
had to lean a lot on intuition. And to me, like it just felt yeah.
hmm.
I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah,
I know some people are like
I'm gonna look
that
that
is one
up.
of those things that is gonna start war.
Exactly. I know. Yep. Yep. Very funny. Okay, so cool. I like that we have these different ways of reading. Okay. So, okay. So she associates it with fire. Wands represent growth, virility, creativity, self-development, inspiration, enterprise, energy, clear perception, enlightenment, passion, and desire. Wands are future oriented, entrepreneurial, and inventive. They initiate action. They light up dark spaces and get things moving. When you get a wand in a reading, ask yourself, what do I desire? How can I creatively express myself and my ideas? What options for self-growth are present? What first step can I take? There's a lot there. Those are some good words too. Did any words of those words stick out to anybody?
I think the what do I desire?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a great question, right? Like you would think that you
Yeah.
know, but sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so then she does a list of attributes. So virtues, creativity, enterprise, and drive versus vices, pride, restlessness, willfulness. So that's interesting. You have the pro and con of the suit. Element fire. Style, exploding, activating, inspiring. The Jungian function is intuition. Direction is south. Season is spring. So if you want, everybody wants to know when. Okay, when is this going to happen? Well, here we have spring. Um, and then images, candles, flames, matches, volcanoes, sunflowers, phallic objects, salamanders, lions and all cats, rams, all forms of new life, babies, spring plants, etc. Pause, let you get that all down. But just from those words, it's like you can see how just like pulling one card and just looking at the suit brings up a whole lot. Next, we have cups, or vessels, cauldrons, or hearts. Cups are associated with water and are usually seen as full or empty goblets and sometimes as flowers, especially lotuses. Cups represent emotions, relationships, the subconscious, dream and astral worlds, psychic and intuitive arts, fantasy, illusion, fertility, grace, and serenity. Cups are pleasure loving with an aesthetic orientation and sociable. When you get a cup in a reading, ask yourself, what or whom do I love? What am I dreaming or fantasizing about? What am I feeling? How am I responding? It's very interesting. I think cups are my least favorite suit. Now I'm feeling that makes me very miserable. Very grouchy. Okay. For virtues, we have serenity, love, creative visualization, imagination, nurturance. For vices, we have moodiness, excesses and addiction, psychic dreams. There's our King of Cups there, Tanya. The element is water. Style is flowing, expanding, diffusing, loving. The Jungian function is feeling. Direction is west. Season is summer. And images are cups, goblets, containers, bodies of water, wombs, flowers, the phoenix, dolphins, all water creatures. Any thoughts on cups? You don't like them either, Raina? It's good to know I'm not alone. Isn't that funny? Mm.
I think they like not listening, but just reading through all of this while you were reading it out loud to us and listening to that.
Mm.
It really does show like the like soothing part of the whole cups thing, like
Mm.
the emotional, the water. And as a Pisces, like the water is definitely very, very much something that I just gravitate to automatically. Um, but then you see the other side of all of that, and it's nice to kind of see it broken out like that instead of, kind of saying, well, the reverse is kind of this, or, to know
Mm.
that that really is what you're looking at on the other side of that coin. Like when you're
Mm.
you're thinking about things and you're like, yeah, well, serenity could also be, somebody who's, if it's reversed or, whatever, if it's the right card and the right spread, it's also showing all of these other things
Mm.
that could be complicating things along the way.
Yeah. Right.
Not
Absolutely.
necessarily the drama that we're talking about when we giggle about the King of Cups, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it
which,
could be.
by the way, he showed back up.
Oh no. Oh my
Oh,
God. All
sure.
right. Maybe we'll pull cards on that. Okay.
But yeah, I
hmm
love that because that's the one I identify with the most. I wouldn't say it's my favorite or my least favorite,
hmm
but as far as feeling pulled to, like I feel like I get it
Mm.
more because of that water aspect.
Yep.
And I love seeing that other side
Yeah. Yep.
being,
Right.
so clear. I like that.
Yeah. I agree. Yep. Next up, we have swords or blades or spades. And of course, she says swords are associated with air. Notice that in the Waite-Smith deck, the clouds and sky are often indicative of the atmosphere of the card. Swords represent your mental, rational, logical functions, as well as communication and thoughts. Swords are also indicative of a struggle or conflict and point to a need for decisions about or separation from past attachments. Desire for truth and a need for discrimination are often indicated. When you get swords in a reading, ask yourself, where are my thoughts focused? What decision am I making? What tension or conflict do I need to deal with? What changes need to be made? Those are good questions. Okay. So for virtues, we have penetration, courage, strength, truth and justice, organization. For vices, this is good. Vices, thoughtlessness, judgmentalism, sharp-tonguedness, fear or confusion. Element, air. Style, storming, freezing, striving, conceptualizing, communicating, confronting, cutting through. The Jungian function is thinking. Direction is east. Season is fall. And images are clouds, wind, sky, all sharp objects, razors, knives, glass, sylphs, four winds, and birds. Any thoughts on swords? I like swords too. I feel like when swords come up in a reading, particularly if there's a lot of them, it's like I feel like I just naturally feel like, okay, what part do you play in what's going on? Like what, like whereas if there's a lot of cups, it may be just that maybe you're just being too sensitive, or maybe I don't know, or maybe it's just your empathy that's jamming things up a little. But swords, I feel like there's more to the story here.
Yeah. It's definitely like a get your ass in gear type suit.
Mhm. Right.
I
Yeah.
love about it.
Right. Pentacles. This is interesting. Deniers, it says. I've never heard that used for pentacles. So deniers, discs, coins, stars, or diamonds. Pentacles are associated with earth and are often represented as money and or crafts made by hand or fruit of plants or of your labors. Pentacles indicate a concern with money, the result of labor, the accumulation of knowledge, and development of skills. That's interesting, the accumulation of knowledge, because you would think swords, um, or I would think swords, but it's the accumulation piece, I think, there. That's interesting. Pentacles represent what grounds and stabilizes you, as well as traditions, foundations, and inheritances. Since they question your sense of self-worth and what you value, pentacles can represent money, work, or your home, depending on where your sense of security lies. Drawing from the assumptions of its own culture, the Waite-Smith deck depicts pentacles within a capitalist framework and often shows the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. When you get pentacles in a reading, ask yourself, what do I value? Where do I find my greatest sense of security? What do I feel insecure about? What goals are being materialized? What messages am I getting from my physical body and from my environment? Those are good questions. I like those. Okay. So for virtues, we have knowledge and ability, endurance, stability. Vices, we have stress and anxiety, stubbornness, inability to change, possessiveness, greed. The element is earth. The style is drying, cracking, materializing, solidifying, crystallizing. The Jungian function is sensation. Direction is north. Season is winter. And images are money, platters, stones, fruits of the earth, crafts, machinery, Mother Earth, gnomes. I do not know why, but gnomes, bulls, cows, and goats. Where on earth would she have gotten gnomes from? That's so interesting.
They dig in the earth.
What's that?
They dig in the earth.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you, Karen. Brilliant. All right. So there's our four suits. Did anything come up around those that you didn't know, that surprised you, that you forgot? I don't know. I always like to return to the suits just to, I don't know, just as a way to get back to basics. Like if especially, if you're doing a reading and you're tripped up by a card, just go to the suit. Go to the suit and and ask. These questions are great, I think. Um, Even just having those handy. Um, I mean, pentacles come up and you're like, I don't know what the hell this Five of Pentacles is talking about. And then just be like, what do you value? And have a conversation. You have a whole reading there. Um, Okay, so the next part of the chapter, she does purification of the cards, but we won't do that. It's more like sitting with each suit and doing like a little meditation around each. It would be, I think it would be a useful exercise, but we won't do that. And then we will talk about reverse cards. So this isn't, she doesn't get into it too deeply, but enough, I think, is to get some good information here. Another issue that must be resolved before a reading is how to interpret reverse cards or cards that, when turned over right to left, appear upside down. So I like that she says before the reading, right? Make sure before you're reading, you're going to decide if you're going to use them or not, because otherwise, and I am guilty of this. I'll start a reading and then the reverse card pops up and I'm like, oh shit, do I want to do reversed? If I do, what do I want to, how do I want to read them? So go into it knowing what you want. And when you turn them like a book page, not like that, but like that. When I first began to read the tarot, I disliked interpreting reverse cards. I dreaded their appearance and always had to look up the meanings because I could never remember them. I finally decided not to read the reverse cards any differently, which freed me to trust them at a much deeper level. I saw each card as a rainbow arc containing a spectrum of meaning. At one end of the scale were the negative interpretations of the card, and at the other end were the most positive and beneficial meanings of the card. Excuse me. When I drew a card, I tuned into its energy in general, but I could usually tell which end of the spectrum was manifesting, as in the I Ching, when it refers to the superior man, and you must ask yourself if you are the superior man. I don't know anything about the I Ching, so. I also found that once I acknowledged my ability to choose, I could slide back and forth along the spectrum, thus manifesting by choice the more beneficial or problematic aspects of any card. From this, I confirm that the tarot is not predicting a fixed or fated future, but is actually a tool for determining the type of energies I can draw on, allowing me to step back and look at them and to accept personal responsibility for the actions taken. I could also see the directions to take to use my own highest potential. Okay, the following suggestions indicate how the reversal of a card can modify its upright meanings. Try all of the possibilities until you find one or more categories that works best for you and align with your personal reading style and worldview. So here we go. She has 13 different ways. So number 1, the energy normally described by the card may be blocked, repressed, denied, rejected, or resisted. The potential is present, but not used or released. I like that. Number 2, there could be hesitation, uncertainty, difficulty, or delays. If many cards are reversed, it may simply indicate overall delays and the accompanying frustration. This makes me think, during COVID, I was doing a reading for a woman. I knew that the second she got on, I was like, this is gonna be bad. Like her entire spread, and I think I was doing like a 10 card spread, so a lot of cards. It was entirely reversed. And I was like, I'm having a problem here. I don't think I can read your cards. And I mean, I tried, and I mean, sure enough, she just was not having it. She was taking no responsibility for anything. She just wanted answers. I ended up saying, like, no, we're not doing this. Um, but it happens. If you get a lot of reverse cards, it can be like, whoa, like let's talk before we even get into this. So um it's an interesting energetic um kind of like, I don't know, precursor. Number 3, the energy may be unconscious, inner, or private rather than the conscious, outer, or public. If truly unconscious, the querent may deny or not recognize it. So, yeah, it's similar to that example. Four, as a new or dark moon phase, it can indicate what is instinctual, hidden, and in the moment of conception or reformation. Five, you may project denied material onto others. These may be qualities you admire as well as those you do not like. Six, the querent could be overturning, getting out from under, breaking free of, rejecting, refusing, or turning away from the upright position. Seven, it can show the end or passing away of a situation or loosening of a change in direction. Eight, there might be none of the qualities of the upright position. It is not that. Try adding prefixes such as non or un. Nine, the reversal may take a meaning to extremes, either intensifying or lessening the effect. Too little or too much, under or overdeveloped, immature or senile. It can show over or under compensation or flip from one polarity to the other. Ten, there can be a faulty start, bad timing or misuse, misappropriation or misdirection. 11, reversals like planetary retrogrades suggest other rewords, denoting backward motion, withdrawal, opposition, negation, or having to do something again. You may need to review, reconsider, or redo previous actions. Reversals can be both the disease and its remedy. A remedy is an agent used to restore health. Like the Hanged Man, what new perspectives does the reversal ask you to consider? And 13, if an upright card depicts conventional wisdom, then the reversal illustrates unconventional wisdom. It depicts the shadow, magical, and shamanic worlds. It may play the role of trickster, asking you to not take a situation so seriously. The appearance of reverse cards gives you the opportunity to acknowledge what's going on beneath the surface of things and perhaps, if appropriate, take some kind of externalizing action. So that's a lot, right, for reversals. Like, no wonder, like, she didn't do them for a long time because, like, there's a lot of different ways to read them. Um, so what you could do is just practice, like pull three, five cards, whatever, see what comes up reversed, and then look at it from each of these different ways. See what feels comfortable. For me, most of the time, I would say I look at it as a drain of energy and how you can maybe fill that cup, you know. Opposite, that's usually, I don't know. I don't usually tend to go towards the opposite meaning. It's, yeah, I feel like more of a draining, but it can be complicated. So so don't feel pressure to use reversals. Does anybody have feelings about reversals?
I don't remember. It was in one of your classes, but I don't know if it was you or somebody else was saying they can mean like focus here, like focus on
Yes,
this.
yes. Hmm.
That helps me sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. So yes, I did I have taught a class only in reversals. And yes, it can mean like, hello, this is like trying to get your attention. That's
Hmm.
another great way to read them. You could even like if you if you turn the cards over all at once, so that you can see what the reversals are, you could pull those reversals out and just do the reading from those,
Hmm.
which is a cool thing to do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. hmm Any thoughts on any of that? Oh, look at that perfect timing. It's 8 o'clock. Wow. So next time, the next chapter is on the Celtic cross, which is very interesting. That's what we did in the tarot gathering this week was I talked a little bit about the Celtic cross, and Nancy Hendrickson in her Substack, she wrote her version of the Celtic cross, which I love. So we will do that next time. It makes much more sense. I don't love the Celtic cross because I feel it's too disjointed. I feel like it's two different readings. I feel like it's like the main part is kind of an overview, whereas the staff is more predictive, mm, more fluid, I guess. I don't know, but I don't love that spread. So we'll talk about the traditional versus Nancy's, which I think you'll really like. So, any thoughts, anybody? Yeah. Well, we're gonna have a snow day, so you can all practice reading. Uh, maybe practice the wands versus swords technique. See how it feels. Maybe you'll be converts. Maybe I will. I'm kind of intrigued. I'm like, but I'm not going to tell that guy that. So, but all right. Well,
I- I'm curious, did he give any explanation why he was so convinced that's the way it is?
he was so odd. He said that he learned tarot a zillion years ago. I'm gonna cough on it. Um, and he had put the cards away for a while, but now he's been watching TikTok videos. And I
Oh,
think
well,
that's, yeah. So something from those videos stuck with him. And he seemed, it was like when I felt bad because like when he said, wands are air, and I like jumped on him. I was like, what? I'm like, hold up. And he was so uptight and so,
I feel like I saw it on TikTok has become the new, I read it in Wikipedia.
yes,
Yeah. It's
exactly.
like,
Exactly. I know.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep. So, but hey, it's not like it came out of left field. This is a thing, right?
No. I
So
know there are people that do it, but I've honestly just never met anyone else who
I know.
does it. So
Well, if he sticks around, I'll introduce
I
you.
really I don't need that. Thank you. I'm good.
Oh my God. Good. All right. Well, everybody enjoy the snow, and I'll be around if you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email. Get your letters in for the tarot exchange.
Mhm.
And yeah, we'll see you soon. So
Stay
thanks for
safe and
coming
warm.
out tonight.
Thank you. Bye,
See you
everyone.
later.
Right. Thank
See ya.
Thank
you.
you. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.